We're gonna meet at
6:02 p.m. We're gonna call this meeting to order. The April session of our Economic Development Commission. So everyone could please stand to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looks like on the owl camera, it's pointed at our public speaking table.
It is.
So let it be known. We'll go through roll call here.
I'll turn it right to you, sir. Oh, here we go. No nearby. It's gonna take a minute to reset it, but I will take roll while we're waiting for it to reset.
Perfect.
Chair Lawson,
Here.
Vice Chair Barron,
Here.
Lisa Fry,
Present.
Jacqueline Hunt,
Present.
Amy Gibson Grow,
Present.
David Amador,
Present.
and Jacqueline Hunt.
Oh, present.
Did I already call you? No.
Well, otherwise, I responded to somebody else.
Oh, Michael Eck, you already said he's going to join via Zoom, so I'll keep an eye out for him. And your ex officio this evening is Counselor Michelle McCall Wallace. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
And any public comments submitted ahead of time via email?
None.
Good. We don't have anyone in the room. Anyone online wish to have any public comments submitted this evening?
I don't.
Not me.
Thank you, Amy.
One public comment. No Way Wednesday.
This is true. This is true.
Head on down to a cup of yo.
Yeah, as soon as the meeting's over, head on down.
Okay. And Michael just joined us, so.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so taking a look at last month's meeting minutes, the month of March 2025. We discussed a few different topics. So the business survey, which we will discuss even further today, we have some preliminary results. Not quite as many as I think we were hoping for in terms of being able to gather some insights and look at trends quite yet, but we'll get there. We also talked about the two subcommittees that we established, the Glencoe Opportunity Area Subcommittee and the Downtown Area Subcommittee. So both those groups gave updates and some of our next steps on the goals that we're looking to accomplish this year. The third subcommittee of the UGB relook update also gave kind of an update on where things stood as of March for the relook committee. And then we got into a couple new business items. The first of which we'll cover again tonight. So our first quarter update to City Council. Tonight we'll dive into that and probably outline what we want to update for our City Council submission. And then we'll discuss kind of filling that in and getting that finalized. We also talked about any incentive examples being offered by other cities in similar areas, demographic situations, things like that. So taking a look at some of that research we can do as a group. And then we also discussed scheduling a work session with Therese, our city communication specialist. We talked about doing that in May. So we'll kind of formally coordinate, I think, with Therese as that date approaches. But hopefully that'll be next month. And we can.
Yes, and I believe she zoomed in.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about planning that, so.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Any other go backs or items from last month's meeting minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
A second.
All right, all those in favor of approving March's meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Hi.
All right, unanimous, although we had delayed approval of March's meeting minutes. Which means we can just get right into April. So as I alluded to a little bit, we have kind of three main topics we'll go through. So we'll review some preliminary survey results that we've been working with the chamber on. We'll talk through some of our Q1 city council updates. The last update we gave was at the end of last year. So this will just be trying to capture really like the main accomplishments from last year, last quarter to now. I think we also talked about with an addition of trying to capture a bit of historical information with new city council members, just trying to make sure we get them up to speed on what we've been working on, like some of the big rocks that we've been focused on. And then last item for this evening would be a budget discussion with city manager Bill Reed, who is here live this evening.
Live in person.
Just oozing energy this evening. So we'll talk budget as a group. Any kind of more urgent topics or anything the group wants to discuss then before we dive into the survey results? All right, so everyone should have received an email that came from the chamber's kind of admin email. Is that not Lori did it? Okay, we'll forward that to you.
That's important.
That is important. You should probably get the survey results. You have it on your computer.
Yeah, I will pull them up. Sorry, I just meant the initial survey itself, not the results. Yeah,
Okay.
still.
All right.
Gotta
get that
so,
fixed.
And maybe as part of that, you can discuss why you think the results made it look lower, or the response made it look lower.
Oh dear.
response total.
Yes.
Well, so the email went out last week. So in terms of the duration of how long it's been in everyone's inbox has not been too long. However, if I pull up the results here, I'll share it on Zoom. So here's a look at what was sent. So again, it had kind of our introduction, outlining how long the survey would take, kind of going over some more informed consent type information of confidentiality and how we'll look at it at an aggregate view. In total, there were roughly, let's see. No, it's kind of, I wouldn't look at these totals, I would just look at we got 10, 13 total.
So 0 people responded to question number 1, is that how I read that?
No, so question number 1 being this question here, is that what you mean, Jack?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the table where it says, oh, for question number 1, those are the
strongly
responses.
okay.
Got
Correct,
it, okay,
so
got it.
the other caveat to this is, I need to clarify with the chamber, they had a few of their members test the survey, I don't know if those tests are included in this respondent count. If it does, obviously with it being such a low count, it'll skew our data quite a bit. So looking at this, it's quite a bit of, specify any trashing, the amazing EDC support. I'm gonna guess that, was planted.
That might have been my test.
Okay. So the validity of these answers still need to be vetted. But we can at least take a quick look. A lot of the answers do gravitate towards the neither disagree or agree. So our averages are going to hover right around the 3 mark.
Mr. Chairman, a quick question. The total 40, what does it mean? Do you have an idea what it means? Is it the total number of people who uh, uh, carried out the survey or what? I'm trying to understand what it means.
Yeah. What's
Just
it?
like they scored each of them and it gave a total, which then they found the average of, they just found the type of score from 1 to 5.
Yeah, I'm assuming so like eight threes, 8 times 3, 1 times 4, 2 times 5. And then that's just added to you. Got it.
Okay.
This was generated straight from the Chamber's kind of survey platform, so. I'm assuming if we were to get like the raw data, we'd be able to. Kind of. Score it, value it the way we would want to, so. I think that would be ideal, is once we get to. Respondent count that we think is. I guess sufficient, we could just see if we can extract the data. Clean it, so get rid of all of our tests, responses and things like that, so this is very initial.
That's
Good
nice
stuff.
to see the comment.
Yeah, I need warehouse space, it's a good one. Yeah, the traffic downtown, makes sense.
The addition of certain types of businesses in North Plains would positively impact my business. I'll mostly just scroll to the qualitative sections.
Yeah,
So like adding food establishments, sit down restaurants.
good comment, that one. We talked about those buildings before, the storage buildings. Yeah,
Sort of the downtown.
yep. See that other folks recognize it too.
Increased marketing support for the city would help my business reach more customers.
Looks like you had actually a stronger response there. On the higher end. Yeah, so it looks like that's something that folks are asking for.
So incentives for shopping locally. Ads, newsletter.
Why would the city do commercials for the business?
Like business spotlights could be kind of tied into a lot of the
Yeah,
conversation we've had around like newsletter, water bill. Blurbs.
additional resources. Transportation. That one also seems pretty netted. Either
Right.
agree or disagree.
Affordable housing.
Attractive for it.
The end. Okay.
City of North Plains provides adequate support for my business to succeed.
And we'll respond again.
For events in the area. But
Oh, here we go. It's business. It's like. Small, yeah, small.
restaurant, retail, professional services. It's a pretty interesting, at least as of now,
Yeah,
11+ years.
we have
They're
some
well
pretty seasoned,
established.
yeah, pretty seasoned businesses at this point.
Yeah.
9 members. Forms. So you said this went out just last week.
Yeah,
Do they have a plan to just redistribute it like on a weekly basis until we get enough of?
yeah, I don't know if that specific communication plan has been vetted, but I'll work with them to at least get one more reminder out. And I think it can be up to us if we keep it open, or if we wanna have like a finite closure date. That we can kind of push to get a certain number of responses by.
Which I think is helpful. I'm just looking at the email now. I think it's helpful to put some kind of deadline. in
Yeah.
there to Get people to, oh, I got it. I should respond. I need to, instead of, oh, I can do this whenever, and then
Yeah.
I tell me we're gonna have it.
Did this go out in the announcement of the survey go out anywhere like in the press, on Facebook pages, in the newsletter? I mean, that might be helpful.
Yeah.
Because customers would then encourage that
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well as, other committee members and council.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's just letting people know that that's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know that, and the rest of the community to know that that's important to the city.
Right.
Yeah, is there a way for us to do that? Because right now it's coming from the chamber, which first of all, the chamber sent out a lot of emails. It could easily just was and the email trash, right, shuffle. So I think a lot of people probably didn't even see it.
Right.
And like you said, it's
Well, it's a bigger story than the chamber. I mean, it's great that the chamber's doing that.
Right.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
But the bigger story of, letting the community know what the city is doing. And, it might even surface some that the chamber's not aware of, or raise some other responses, or not get any responses, which is telling us the story as well. So, I'm just wondering if there's not a way to, put that out from the commission in a sense, saying you're doing that and,
Yeah.
anything happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we could probably work on using the kind of the email as a starting point and creating some type of flyer with a QR code or some type of, material to get the word spread more physically, as well as, I don't know, we can work with Therese on getting some type of communication.
Or even just an announcement that it's happening,
Yeah,
for people to know,
yeah.
would be great.
Is this the kind of thing we could put on the city's Facebook page? Or not? We have to target it just to businesses?
No, I mean, if we want to get new, we could probably do something.
I don't.
I mean, you could also say it is, I'm not saying change the whole survey, but just even putting it out there as information that this is happening in town.
Yeah.
The commission is doing this
Yeah.
and inviting businesses to, tell us.
Right.
And so, that, it's just information in that sense.
Mhm.
But it also, it's the people who frequent those businesses who are going to see that information.
Yeah.
And help support that as well.
Yeah.
So you might go in and say, hey, I filled out that survey, I saw the city's doing a survey,
That's a good point.
Would it be possible to include it in like the water bill letter that goes out, just a little blurb that there's a survey going around?
Yeah, we could QR code it or something. I mean, that's possible.
Cause yeah, I think people don't know what's happening. It's gonna be a hard thing.
Yeah.
So, and if you're like me, you get 1,000 emails a day, probably like, I don't know, this is.
Especially if it's under the chamber heading. It's
Yeah.
Easy to say, oh.
Yeah, it's easy to
Yeah.
think that it's a marketing blurb or like
Yeah.
something, so yeah, I think.
and you do want it to be the businesses, but it doesn't hurt for the community to know what all the work you're doing, so.
Yeah.
Working with the chamber to make that happen.
Right. Good, perfect. So I think based on the interest of this group, we'll take the action to work with Bill and Lori to try to get it in some type of channel, whether it's working with Therese or the water bill or.
Well, the one we took.
That's fine. I mean, there's no reason like it has to, the survey has to shut off. We can keep it open, just continue to collect information.
Yeah.
Like there'll have to come some point where you say, okay, no more.
Right.
But I don't think like a 3-month window to have it open and then like we review it.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing.
I agree. Just keep it open for a quarter.
Yeah, keep it open for a quarter and that way we just collect as much data as possible. And then quarter from now, then we just say, okay, it's done. Let's review what we have.
Yeah. It has now turned into our second quarter survey.
There we go.
That's great, that's huge,
Yeah.
that's huge.
It did.
Okay,
Okay,
now let's just get the responses.
yeah. Let's see,
Could we, we've talked about doing like business walks with the chamber
Yeah.
even, like
Yeah.
thinking about strategies, like including this as part of that, as we go around and like talk to businesses in person. Hey, have you seen the survey? That would really help. We're trying to collect some information to provide to city council as far as what is needed for businesses to thrive in our city.
Yeah,
Well, and I think the idea was we were gonna use some of these key responses, right?
Yeah, to
Just
go
like
out.
Which businesses
Yeah.
to go to first, like, oh, wow, someone is really struggling with such and such, let's see if we can go
Yeah.
visit this business first.
that was kind of phase 2 of the plan. Now we could phrase it as a third quarter plan for our second quarter survey.
This person really likes the EDC, let's go talk to this person.
But we do. It would be at like an aggregate level, we were just looking at trends, so it's not necessarily something where we would be able to. Single out a specific source unless they, are willing to identify themselves, but, hey, we're seeing this trend in the city. We can go talk to each business and discuss like whether or not that trend is actualized, like with them, and their specific business. Some of those. things.
That's what it throws out there was the, the idea of just putting it in like the newsletter, so it says, this is happening.
Yeah,
Whether, not necessarily by everybody in the community for that survey, because it's not necessarily for them, but at the same time, to really look at sort of building a complete data into it so that then that information can be used. Because, if you want to look at other things that are in the downtown economic plan, that there are things that data will provide in terms of grant writing or in terms of applications for various things. And also, in looking towards meeting with council, the idea of, what are the things that are priorities that fit with the council's priorities based on what the businesses are also saying. So, I also see, you can pull it at any time and say, this is the data we have at the moment, but to recognize that there may be opportunities for that along the way.
yeah. Yeah, so I like that idea of. Essentially 3 months, you can collect, close it, try to socialize that date as much as we can of.
Yeah.
End of June. We would be closing the survey. Gathering our data, looking at trends. Yeah. You guys. Amy, David, Michael, anything on the line you guys want to touch on with the survey?
I can't think of anything specific.
I do have a quick question. In seeing the comments on here, did all of the comments come through from various people who responded? Are those,
Oh, like the totality of all comments that were made.
yeah, are they all listed from everybody?
I believe so. I'm not certain on that, but this, please specify any specific attraction, yada, yada. The qualitative open field option is just an optional field for people to enter their thoughts, so it's not a requirement for each respondent. So we'll see more responses on some questions rather than others,
Okay,
but I'm not 100% certain that this output, this PDF captures it.
okay. Thank you.
And I think it's encouraging to see the business owners taking the survey. I was just reflecting over the duration. I heard Eric mention end of June, and then I remember that in the downtown area subgroup update, one of our goals is to, after the business survey is administered, to conduct site visits to at least 2 businesses, right, with the Chamber of Commerce. So does it mean this visitation will take place after end of June, or there's, so that was what I was trying to process.
So if our
because after we'll have to analyze the results, right, and then use that in our engagement with the business owners, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think we can kind of dictate when we want to go out and start meeting with businesses. We can certainly wait until we have more data and have a better idea on some of the like high level trends of things we can discuss with certain businesses, or we can just say, hey, you know, even before the survey closes, we want to get out while the weather's good and start, you know, meeting with business owners. So I think it can be up to us, however we want to approach it.
Yeah, to put a date on that, our goals, right? Yeah, get it.
Got it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Perfect.
Would it be possible to weigh in? This is Linda Gallus Merton. I'd like to ask a question.
Sorry, Linda, is it part of public comment?
It's part of this discussion.
Right. This is the Economic Development Commission discussion currently, but if it's part of a public comment, we can certainly field that.
Do you want to field that now or some other time?
Yeah, if you'd like to submit it now, we can go ahead and field it.
Okay, thanks. So my question is, I'm not clear who's responsible for what in all this. Is the chamber responsible for the survey or EDC? And then who's responsible for analyzing the survey, the chamber or EDC? And then what is supposed to be the final end game here? If the EDC is going to help businesses in any way, how does the budgeting and funding work for that? How are those decisions made?
Okay, so I'll try to go through the questions here. So the EDC created this survey in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, but really the EDC was driving the types of questions we wanted to ask, some of the specific categories that we want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
The Chamber is partnering with us because they're able to use their website and their kind of survey platform that's part of their website suite that they're able to send out to all of the recipients, which we got from current registered businesses within North Plains city limits. So we worked with the chamber to develop, send out the communication, and then the EDC will be analyzing the data on the back end once we gather all the results, and we're able to try to like quantify some of the results that we get. That'll all be part of the goal of seeing kind of some of the biggest trends of what we're seeing as a group. The EDC can go then focus on some of the challenges our small businesses might be facing, whether it's, you know, startup costs, certain red tape that they're trying to work through that we could potentially help partner with them to work through. Really any area that stands out to us from the data we're getting on some of the next steps of how we can partner with some of those businesses.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Great questions. Okay, I think we'll keep moving from the survey unless anyone in the commission. Any other topics? Good. All right, we'll now talk about some of our first quarter updates that we want to supply to City Council. So we provided a quarterly update in Q4 of last year, and we would like to kind of keep that trend going with the first quarter update this year. We still are kind of working through the, I guess, the cadence of all of the updates and how we as a commission want to gather all of those and compile them into an update. I think the first one we put together worked well just from it focused on a lot of the high level goals that we had for the year and some of our achievements, mostly the second half of last year. So this first quarter update would, I think, be somewhat capturing what we're working on, survey, subcommittee work, and probably trying to reiterate how that aligns with kind of the goals of this group and trying to rehash a lot of kind of the backbone of this commission to try to help any new council members or any type of kind of, you know, new faces that we would want to help educate on kind of the background of this group. So with that, I think we can probably, I wanted this to be more of like a brainstorming session of talking through some of our accomplishments, how that might have tied back to some of our goals, things like that.
Yeah, I would start with, can you pull up the report we did last time?
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest thing is we do have a new council body, and so I think just getting them up to speed on what the Economic Development Commission is, what we've been doing. I mean, it seems like we might go in and repeat ourselves from the last update. But again, we have a new majority, a new council, and so it's not repeating to them, it's new information to them. And then again, just making sure that they understand that the goal of the Economic Development Commission is to be an advisory body to them to help them guide economic growth in the city. But yeah, I think looking at what we've reported out before, seeing what's applicable to really just kind of make sure that they're up to speed on what's been happening in the last 12 months. And then as far as anything that we've done since Q1 to now, kind of adding it to this as a framework. And for the 3 returning folks, it might be a repeat, but that's okay. I think just getting all of them on the same page.
Oh, two?
Two.
Yeah.
2 returning. That's right. So yeah, I think it would just be good to, it might seem like a repeat, but I think it'll be fresh for them. I think it'll be a benefit for the council.
So items 1 and 2 would be something we could touch on, you know, some of the volunteer work we've done in the past, not just last quarter. And then item 1, we could just talk about how in 2024 we grew our commission in terms of number of members and codified our kind of formal commission status.
I think also just having them understand who the commission members are, like what our expertise are, what we bring to this body as well.
Yeah.
Because we have a really good group of folks on this group.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, it's a great call.
Because I mean, the question will come like, what is your expertise? And like, if you look at this group, there's plenty of economic development expertise on this group, but informing the council that hasn't worked with us in the past.
Right.
Will be important.
Okay.
And
then it's number 3, we can just update like currently.
Yep.
Business survey. Item 4, similar, we can update kind of our collaboration with the chamber.
yeah, do we have, oh, yep, you're right, it's number 6. That was what I was gonna ask as well. Then an improvement grant program, so speaking of the success of that in the past. And especially the businesses that we now see thriving, like No Way Wednesdays, is really important. But yeah, I think, you know, that is some tangible stuff that this body has done that's resulted in truly economic development for the city.
Agreed. Okay, so I like that idea, essentially updating really all of these.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a working template and then it's making it current to where we are now.
Sounds like we've got a volunteer to do these updates. Maybe,
Chris?
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
You have my email.
A little bit, I think is your participation in.
Or the
UGB relook.
yeah,
And like, what is this group's perspective on that?
that is a very good one too.
Okay,
I think we have a collective perspective on it. You can't have economic development if you don't want a city to grow.
Well, that goes under the subcommittees, right?
Yeah.
As our subcommittee one.
And you were appointed to the subcommittee, so.
Yeah, the UGB relook right there.
yeah,
Yes,
Under
work on this committee.
so yeah, that item would be focused more on the.
I think just kind of tangibles as far as like, yeah, why it's important, what growth means from an
And what's
economic
happened
development
to them.
standpoint.
Yeah, and council is aware there's multiple perspectives and viewpoints on that issue,
Yeah.
so, you know, that's gonna be there for a while.
Yeah. I'm not going anytime soon.
Can I add something in this discussion? So this is very timely. I can tell you that it's on the agenda or coming up for the council to be looking at our communications with all our commissions and boards. And so I think it's really more of, and I don't know yet because council hasn't had that discussion. So this is really my personal perspective at the moment, but thinking about sort of the policy that we put into place to make that happen. So is that an annual meeting where, you know, we get an update on where we are with the economic plan and any kind of, you know, achievements in the past year and with the goal that we should talk about what the future is. And then having sort of a check-in point where it's a report along the way or something. I'm not sure yet where council will go with that, but you know, we have all of them to look at and all operating as advisory groups and want to make that a meaningful experience for those who are giving their time for these committees and commissions. And so, but it does fit very well with, in terms of, you know, kind of knowing what's going on. And I would say, regardless of whether you have a new council or not, from my perspective, even just a little paragraph or a recap of who the commission is, where it came from, what it's done, where it's going, should be at every one of those annual presentations coming.
Thank you.
Yes, I don't know if you mentioned this, but this is something that we self-initiated with some encouragement from our staff. That we should.
Wonderful city
Yeah,
manager.
because we didn't have a way to.
I know that hasn't really been set up at this point, and I think that is what we're gonna be discussing it, and where that lands, I don't know yet. Because we haven't had that discussion, but, you know, the idea of how do we share that information, and I know there was a issue, which we'll talk about later, just if there's any news on that in terms of team workers, or something, so, you know, how do we have those communication pieces along the way, how do we have the bigger picture, that sort of thing, but it fits very much with, you know, all the boards, just like the staff does, to, you know, keep the council involved.
Yeah. Definitely. Good.
Sweet. Yeah.
So Chris, if you're being voluntold to.
Yeah. I'll work on it.
Updates, I'll send you this Word file. And I'll try to dig up if there was anything else we worked on.
Well, I can grab the minutes for a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I'll grab a lot of them, just look back through our minutes and make sure that we've,
Yeah,
got it all in there.
okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and just forward this to you, right? Perfect. All right, moving right along. Our last item for unfinished business, the budget discussion. Again, City Manager Bill Reed here this evening to lead us through that discussion.
Yeah, okay. Well, we, as Vice Chair Barron seemed to realize right before the beginning of this meeting, we are at the end of the current biennium and time does fly. And staff are working through the process and kind of working through kind of, you know, budgeting and figuring out budgeting, you know, department or by fund, depending on who they are and then what they don't address, I get to budget for. So I guess what I want to just kind of go over is what the prior biennium budget was, what the different kind of funds or departments or line items were that really kind of pertain to the EDC. We don't have an Economic Development Commission fund or department. So, but we do have kind of different departments or funds that touch on economic and community development activity. And so I'm going to share the screen and we'll go to the first budget here. And that is the Community Development Department budget, which move over here. Okay. So the line item in here, I guess what I would draw your attention to that really is kind of pertinent to you all is we have kind of pretty regularly budgeted annually or biennium respectively, $7,500 to $15,000 for the full biennium. Some sort of economic development planning budget. And I don't have a budget status report in detail you know, for this day right now, biennium up until now. But by and large, you all have not taken up anything with that money. The vote on the UGB kind of stopped, or kind of prevented or paused you all taking the next step of taking a look at, do we need to look at certain types of incentives? Should we, do this, that, or the other? Kind of related to thinking about economic development with additional land that might come into urban growth boundaries. So that's not something you all have engaged in terms of activities that had some budget put aside for it. So what you didn't spend is just going to roll over into the next fund, into the next biennium, basically. But what I wanted to just kind of, run by you is this first line item. Is there still interest, generally speaking, is there still interest for kind of a budget carve out to kind of figure out some things that might require expense on an economic development planning, under an umbrella with that name. And just for cities, we have urban renewal agency and downtown and Glencoe corridor and Glencoe opportunity area. That's the urban renewal budget. And I'll get to that. But just for kind of high level community development, economic development planning, is there still interest in that sort of a kind of budgeting for something?
So, okay, so what are some examples? Incentive programs?
What would be like hiring consultants? Or something?
Yeah, I mean, if you all kind of worked down a path where you identified, like for instance, you might go down the path with Teresa and identify that that the city really should hire somebody to do marketing materials for marketing business.
Okay,
here.
yes.
It would fall under that.
Okay.
It wouldn't be the EDC spending the money, it would be the EDC working towards a point where the city, where I would say, oh, it sounds like we really do need to have somebody to kind of put
We
some
recommend.
materials together, we recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's where that money would be parked in that line item right
Okay.
there, that sort of thing.
What's the name of the line item again?
Economic development planning, it's in the community development department. In the general fund.
Is there any way to change planning to development? I mean, like, the
Yeah,
only
we
reason why,
can relabel it. It's basically just a professional services line item
yeah,
in
I
the
was-
community development, specifically for economic development. We can even call it economic development professional services. We can label it whatever we want, but it's a professional services category line item.
Yeah.
In the community development department.
the only reason why I say relabeling it is just because there might be something that we find that would be useful to spend the money on, like actually hiring someone to do the marketing. That's not really so much planning, it is an action. And so it's, I think if you label it planning, it's gonna be looked at as like, maybe that should be consultants, maybe it should be someone coming in helping us, and it feels like it's a little bit too restrictive with that language. Whereas like, it could even be economic development, like capital improvements, like what if there was like, I don't know, a sign that needed to be put on the side of the road to let people know that there's businesses here. It'd be really unfortunate if it was labeled planning and then we found a need. And it was like $7,000 to get a new sign on the highway that pointed people to North Plains to come here and shop at our businesses, eat at our restaurants. But then the line item says planning, and then it gets looked at with scrutiny when there's funds used for that, and people ask, what was the line item, like, what did you do with it?
Could it be services, economic development services,
Yeah,
which then could be used depending on what the results are of things, after meeting with council.
Yeah.
Hearing direction, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
When the new budget year starts, and you decide that's where you want to go with something, then, then making that request and having that go, whether it's one that goes to city manager at that point, or if it's one that goes to council, but essentially that then it's sitting there for that.
Yeah, we could just align it with the above items of professional services, economic development.
economic development services.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just the only, like, again, I think we've heard from folks, like, signs on the highway for like the restaurants, it's something that we've heard from people coming in public comment before. And so, like, if we found out, like, we talked to ODOT and they're like, oh yeah, we can do a new sign, but it's gonna cost the city money. And then we find out like, oh, it's within the budget, within this line item, I just wanna be able to tap into it.
Except for Capillo, because they don't serve a meal.
Yeah.
So we gotta figure out-
We'll figure something out.
They can't be on the side.
Yeah,
So-
ODOT.
Because there's
Be able
no
to-
meal.
Yeah.
Can't be on the menus unless you serve a full, like, sit down, like, meal option.
Yeah, and I'm not bitter about it either, not at all.
Yeah, I can
We're
tell.
not bitter with you either. I mean, can it be labeled as an attraction?
Right, if it's other meals in the truck.
Like, chicken.
I mean, there's, red tape can be cut in so many different ways.
Hey, you're looking for Yoda. That is an attraction.
Seriously. Okay, so that's kind of the single line item in community, in the community development. And I mean, without kind of having a kind of a specific list of projects, that the city is going to be doing and you'll be involved in it, it's tough to say how much more or how much less, but given that it wasn't really tapped for anything this time around, my own preference is to just, roll it forward again and start there. If council and we find circumstances where, we really should be doing this. We only budgeted 15,000 and council decides that it's worthwhile to do a supplemental if you even need a supplemental budget if you even needed. The number could be changed down the road, but we have a line item that really wasn't touched. It's easy to roll it forward and consider it. We'll get to it next time, sort of thing.
Okay. So what are some of the options just off the top of everyone's head so far? So actual like professional services consulting for whether it's marketing material, some type of even if it's consulting surrounding like incentive programs or development of some type of formal.
Business Oregon I think the state would work with us on that sort of thing. We wouldn't need to pay anybody to do that. Honestly, it might be somebody we hire, hypothetically, we might, in terms of like the marketing and thing, might identify that our websites, ECDev, business marketing, all our presence online on our website is a wall of text when it comes to, opening and running a business in North Plains. Well, if this was 1993 and you were, scrolling through the HTML, that's great. That's not how the world works in terms of graphic, user experience. So, that might be the sort of thing. Maybe there's need to pay a consultant to do a community workshop on ECDev related, but I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, but it would be kind of under that. So
I know we've tossed around the idea of some kind of smaller, not incentive necessarily, but punch cards or whatever, something like that.
Mhm.
That some kind of marketing campaign like that, under those dollars.
Punch
Loyalty
cards?
app, whatever.
The loyalty app, that would be the water fund, because it would be the water bill is
We
where,
didn't do water. What if we did something else?
well, that means spending real money. See, crediting against a water bill is the absolutely easiest thing the city can
Because
do.
it's not real, it's fake money, is that what you're telling me?
No, I buy water wholesale from Hillsborough, trust me, it's real money.
Different color of money.
It's real money.
Yeah.
But when the time comes, it's so much easier to just give people a discount, a little bit of a discount on their water, but
So you're saying
it's
we
super
do that?
easy.
Fantastic.
Well, it happened.
It can be done.
I think it has happened.
Yeah.
So Bill, what I'm hearing, trying to get at is, can it be something as, let's say there's a campaign that involves punch cards, or, can there be the marketing pieces, the posters, the punch cards?
Yeah, something
Those
like
sort of
that.
things that you
Easy
have
stuff.
as fun, as well as something large like a sign. Or a consultant, or someone who's designing a website or brochure. It's like all of it falls under services.
Yeah.
It's a materials, supplies and services
Absolutely.
area on the budget
Absolutely.
line. So there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of the next 2 years and not knowing where you want to go with that right now. And
Right.
since that hasn't been defined,
All right,
so just
fair enough.
Yeah, yes, there's great flexibility. That would be a material, generally speaking, it's a materials and services expense line item in Oregon budget law.
Yeah.
And that it's very flexible. It needs to fall under, that's what you're doing. It's
Yeah.
not,
Hey, no worry, yeah.
it's not first class flights to Hawaii and meals. It's not that.
Can't get an employee.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
No insurance companies involved.
No insurance, nothing like that. But to Council McCall Wallace's point, it's a precisely named, but it's an umbrella that
Okay.
provides some flexibility with the intent of economic development activity.
Well, that's where my head went initially was, like using that budget to sponsor, sending this group to, a conference.
It just happened to be in Hawaii or if,
You know, I think San Diego.
I'm sorry.
No, but, you know, like continuing education, would that come from a separate, budget?
Well, like when we went to,
That's budgets and that's boards and commissions.
Training and-
Line
yeah.
item.
Right.
Education and training.
30002, education and training, EDC.
Okay,
However, if you did something like you were creating a community information session for all the businesses, and you were training,
The
and it was a
business.
training session for them to learn how to do
Right.
something better with their businesses or work together, so then that starts to fall under the professional services again,
Yeah.
because it's not
Right.
supporting the staff or the extension of staff.
Yes, but I will say that, we didn't really touch the training budget for you all for EDC either, and that's something I'll be more proactive about discussing it, but you know, there are, you know, we are a part of Greater Portland Inc., and there are seminars, and LOC has ECDev seminars, and I mean, there's different things that this line item in boards and commissions, EDC, education and training, that we budget for it, and just kind of development of understanding what a city can do on the economic development side of things, what's available in Oregon, how Business Oregon is a partner for local communities, so is this, that, so there's training and information seminars that are highly useful that we budget for, so it's just a matter of utilizing it.
right.
So, but we'll continue to budget for it, I mean, it's important, folks
Yeah,
need to know things.
I mean, so like Chris and I had the opportunity to do some of that with,
The Oregon Business Plan,
yeah, Oregon Business Plan. and
yes.
Some of that, so, and I think that would be really valuable for all of us to.
And that was, it's been a few years, but when I attended a little bit of the Main Street Oregon,
Mhm.
that I thought was very valuable too. So I think it'd be good to continue some of that education.
Agreed. Okay, so community development, I think we've covered ECDev planning, professional services. Okay, strike the word planning. ECDev services, ECDev economic development, professional services. There is training budget that will continue to do for EDC, education and training. And there are very accessible, actually, the big one is EDC. Let me switch over now. Let me go over to. Ooh, this one might be difficult to show. This is the more, this is the more robust fund from an ECDev planning perspective. 656, sorry. Okay, so let me just go over a few things. The Urban Renewal Agency, of course, is, you know, it's its own kind of technically, it's governed by city council, but legally speaking, it's kind of its own odd legal entity. So we have to budget for it differently, and it just kind of has different spending law and then put it very simply, has various different spending law and other laws versus, you know, regular operating funds or capital funds for a city. And everything that has to be done with it, it really needs to be, it has to be done on projects and things, Glencoe corridor up to West Union Commercial and then down Commercial. That dog leg is the urban renewal urban renewal district. So anything and everything we budget for has to be within that area. So if you think a park would be really neat, you know, a park addition over making Veterans Park bigger or something that's outside the urban renewal district, we can't do that. It has to be physically in the URA. So a few big things. We have some big line items that I'm gonna plan to continue to budget for, and this body will have a representative to, for sure, and that is the Urban Renewal Agency sunsets in 2 years. If we don't do an amendment to the plan that extends the sunset date for the Urban Renewal Agency. And I've mentioned this at a council meeting that was opened as URA. But 2 years ago, we budgeted for a big process to do that. I will budget again for that same process, but we're probably going to have to break it up into two different segments. Legally speaking, to extend the sunset date for an urban renewal agency, that's not a gigantic big effort. But so that's something that can be done cheaper, and it isn't a big drawn out process. But our urban renewal agency, most of the projects are done, the plan and all the projects that were identified in the plan. This was back in 2007. A lot has been, I think the only major project that hasn't been done in the urban renewal plan is a new city hall. Almost everything else is checklist done. And so the time has come to extend the plan, extend the sunset date, update the plan, maybe move the urban renewal district boundaries around, bring in some areas that need some love, take out some areas that successfully got love, like all of that. So that's what that is. So that's that $325,000 line item at the top under professional services. I'm sure it's gotten more expensive, but there will be a sizable budget for that. And the EDC, we'll have an advisory committee, and like the downtown plan, we'll have an EDC representative on that. And you as a body can be very active in that process, because that's making it a more hospitable place and cheaper place to do business for new businesses in the city. That's a key thing. So that would be an important component. Property improvement grants, that's the new food service tenant improvement grant. We only spent $100,000 in this biennium of that 300,000. So we've only had one developer build new space for the new businesses to even be in, as you know. We have a business, one of those businesses here this evening. But I plan to budget for more of that, but we may pursue adjusting the grant a bit to be different types of businesses, not just new food service. Cool. But we should still probably budget for physical improvement grants so that people can, aren't faced with that major upfront cost hurdle in some instances. So we don't want to make it easy for everybody to get a grant, but what we want to do, like with the food service tenant improvement grant, is kind of help with those real upfront obstacles, sort of thing. So we want people to do well, and we just don't want bad up. We want to be able to help with the obstacles that are really rough, just from the get-go. So I'll be moving that forward, or not moving forward, but I'll definitely be putting in some budget for that. Let's see. The only other big line item is, we expected to make some progress on the downtown improvement plan. Property owners didn't seem really keen on doing anything despite some work with them. And so that $1 million that we budgeted for downtown projects, we never really got around to spending, but I do plan to, consistent with the downtown improvement plan, put a sizable amount of money so that we can keep trying with property owners. Maybe, we'll see what happens, but we should have some budget in there. So if a property comes up or what have you.
That's why we have it on our subcommittee goal to do something.
Exactly. So the URA, so the URA will budget for that. Real property purchase. We did spend a little over $500,000 of that. That was on the Red House. Because that had become unsafe. Well, once the tree fell on, the roof broke open. It was really unsafe, but once we went inside and saw it, you could film a A24 horror movie in there. No, it's bad. No, really. I mean, it's. I don't know how people were living in really. Yeah, black mold. I mean, it's just really. So it was bad.
Scarier than black mold.
So yeah, so it needs to So those folks are in better housing now, but they're renters there. That was a bad situation. So, but we bought the Red House for that reason. Let's see, so we'll still budget for some real estate property purchase in the URA. I mean, something might come up on Commercial Street or Glencoe or something. Let's see, anything else along those lines? I mean, those are kind of the big areas of things for budget, and we didn't spend nearly as much on some of that stuff, but things did come up. You all were integral to the review and approval of the new tenant improvement grants. I think we could probably workshop how improvement grants might be different, tweaked, or targeted differently. That would be a great topic for you all to address, and then you can kind of give a recommendation. What we're hearing is these types of businesses. Maybe there's one for childcare, maybe a daycare one specifically, or what have you. But that would be something you all can workshop, and then there's budget there. When if the URA board council says, oh, that's a great idea, thank you for the homework. Yes, we'll do that program, that sort of thing.
Would it be possible? So I know like it was mostly to attract new businesses, but thinking of our existing businesses as well, to kind of carve it out to where you have two separate categories for the next biennium, where you have essentially a grant program to attract new businesses, but then like a smaller budget for facade improvement, especially for the Main Street businesses. I think of like Hillsborough's program where I think it's 5,000 is what they essentially pay for, just
For facade improvement.
for facade improvement.
I don't have a problem with it. I think what I would do is that grant line item, that's ample, and I would probably do something similar, but we can just, how it gets implemented or divvied up, we would just do it differently. One thing I would be really curious about is how Hillsborough is doing their facade improvement grant program, because my familiarity with those programs, at least the older generation, was the reason why we've been doing a tenant improvement grant program is that the old facade improvement grants give money to a property owner who probably was derelict. The front of the building looks pretty, but the inside is not usable.
Yeah.
Whereas our grant program focuses, doesn't care if the outside of the building is ugly. It's does the inside function for a restaurant?
Yeah.
And making it functional. Now, we can try to do both, doing using what's budgeted differently, but that's why we focused on the inside rather than the facade.
I have some familiarity with that program. And I believe it was a grant program that the city of Hillsborough received. It was sort of a re-granting program initially. And I know they have just put some money into their downtown partnership.
Okay.
So their downtown partnership operates their Main Street program.
Yep.
Their Main Street members. So that's one of the ways that they're sort of utilizing that funding, something to think about. However, with that, yes, it was really the facades primarily, because they were looking at trying to create that walkability on the downtown street itself. And, so that was bringing in those kinds of pieces. The flower baskets that you see there in the summer, are part of that overall program, run by, Carla Antonini. So yes, and so the focus wasn't on the whole space and doing that. And I think that has value too, because I remember hearing some of those things like, it's great, we can get new signs and we can make the front look great, but we need more, we need new bar stools because we bought Hillsborough Bar and Grill and now we have to do this with it. And so how do you do all of that? And so kind of having multiple things, but then there's also, as you were saying, the new people coming in versus people who are here. And it's very hard to create that capital to do those kinds of big changes when you've been here too, or been in a place for a while. So kind of figuring out a way to support both. But there was a grant, and that was the focus in trying to make that piece happen.
Yeah, it was, I think it was from the city, but JJ on the Main Street one was actually the one that implemented it. And so the funding would
For
come from.
EJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she didn't implement that part of it. I mean, they were connected with
Yeah.
it, but it was actually a city program
Right, yeah.
to apply for the grant strictly because I was connected murals could fall into that program as well. So, because you put a mural on your facade
Yep.
essentially. So, through public art. So I was connected with it that way. So, and it was definitely kind of all around partnership and people working together to make downtown beautiful, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you think of like, now they have the farmer's market down there. I mean, it's a huge attraction is they've made it a really welcoming place. And so you have things like Adelante coming in to turn that into a farmer's market once a week. And it's a huge farmer's market now. And that's a recent development, like it's not been there for forever. So, but yeah, I think it's because they spent a lot of time and effort making it just a beautiful place that people want to go to.
And I think that, for EJ's connection is with the Main Street program.
Yeah.
And that was an important piece too, being in the Main Street program, which allows another set of grants, another set of opportunities.
Yep.
Because she had some other beautification grants, so she could put in planters and benches and things through her grant. So combined, the city and that nonprofit working together.
So I think we could be more creative with the line item. But we can run with the line item. Great. So those are kind of the big, I'll move forward budget for dealing with the Glencoe Opportunity Area. We have a promising sounding ask into the legislature for money to take care of the soil disposal issue over at the Glencoe Opportunity Area. So we should hear about something. We should probably hear if that's going to be granted, awarded. That's really kind of when that gets decided, so. But in terms of other activities related to the property, I'll be budgeting for city, whatever, what city participation we've been budgeting for, so. Those are kind of the two big areas, well, not two, three sort of, but we have training and education budget in the boards and commissions department. We have economic development planning or economic development professional services and community development. And then in the urban renewal agency, we have kind of a number of different things, and it's just a matter of continuing to budget for, but maybe be a bit more creative and nimble with doing things a little bit differently, because maybe we've been successful getting the restaurants that we adding them, and maybe we need to try to affect things a little differently for a different purpose. So, but we can do that, that's the city can do that.
Thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or, it's 7:10, I don't want to go too long, but anything else that come to mind?
Anything from the group?
Anything from online? Nope.
Guess not.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, anything else from your side of the house that this group can help with, or any updates you think are worth mentioning this evening?
Anything else worth mentioning from the community development, economic development side of things? Off the top of my head, no. We've learned that there will be 64 people working inside the DB Schenker building that's under the big industrial building on West Union. They expect to have 64 employees.
Wait, is that officially what it is, DB Schenker?
The tenant in the building is DB Schenker, the specialty German freight company. They move specialty equipment, but they're the ones renting the entire building from the owner of the building.
The one that's under construction.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mhm. Remember, they're the tenant. Inside the building, what's going on is a different story.
Okay.
The DB Schenker is moving what is going to be moving the things going in and out of that building.
Okay.
So
And
that's why
64
they're
people.
64 people.
Okay.
Correct.
Will that be the largest employer in?
Not the mills. No, the mill or
Oh,
the
yeah,
mill or Jewett
yeah.
Cameron have more employees.
Yeah,
That's the single biggest building in North Plains, though.
that one will be.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's great.
private employer building, I should say. I'm
So
not sure.
can I ask, is the report coming from the Economic Development Commission coming in as an agenda item, or is it coming in as a work session?
It'll be in it. It'll be an agenda item. So we'll, once we get it finalized, we'll work with Lori and Bill to get some time on an upcoming meeting, and I think last time it was a pretty brief 5-10 minute agenda item. Councilor McCall Wallace, thank you for being here. Any words of wisdom for us before we
I think
depart?
you guys are the ones with wisdom, so especially.
Questionable.
Especially in this area. So, no, I would say that, I think it's great to be coming to council with an update and also with the history a little bit of all of that, and what the commission has done and is doing. We just had a retreat recently, and at that retreat sort of set our, we set 5 priority areas that are gonna get honed into in their final version in this next council meeting. And then also from there, we'll set the budget goals from that, which are, large goals. They're not that, we want this on a line item or that on a line item, because they're really about sort of setting that tone for what's important, from our perspective. And then, budget committee will happen and all of those things. But in the process of preparing for that retreat, I had the opportunity, I, as well as all 6 other council members and the mayor or 5 of the mayor, had the opportunity to read through all of our plans. So the comprehensive plan, the sewer plan, exciting, the water plan, the URA, and the parks plan, as well as the downtown improvement plan and the library plan. And I want to say that, I was very excited to read the downtown improvement plan. And it's a very, it's the way I like plans done. They give you the action items as well. And it was very clear, of the steps to go forward in that. And I think that's exciting. And I saw there was some things that had already happened. And you talked about some of those tonight. So that's, really exciting to see. I'm excited to hear where that's going next, as that, sort of gets put fully into place. Because it's a great plan, and I think that it really does focus, and you're talking about a lot of the things in that plan and trying to bring those to fruition. So thank you, all of you.
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Any other commission members have items we want to discuss?
I'm gonna throw out one, and I'm, that's not spending a lot of time. I just wanted to say, so May City Cleanup Day is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
We have done something in the past. This coming May, I'll be involved in the cleanup part in the morning. But if anyone has an idea for a business that we could potentially help on cleanup day, think about it and let's talk about it. And if we want to do a volunteer project again.
Yeah.
So that's it.
What day in May?
It's the second Saturday in May.
Saturday. Okay.
The first Saturday is the garage sale, and the second is because you gotta sell your.
So
stuff.
everything you have left over from your garage sale. you bring-
Yeah,
That's
you
right. that is
bring to
right.
cleanup day and throw it in the dumpster.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Do not let me forget about cleanup day. I have
And I'm
plenty.
very happy to see our trees are still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So.
they haven't grown much, but they're there.
Well, you'll all be able to do for that.
Yes.
So it's honoring the.
Me too.
And all of you.
Please
So-
come eat some food.
Let's go.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing.
Next Thursday.
The North Plains Event Association, the Ovation Award for the Garlic Festival, best festival with a budget under $150,000. And I will tell you right now, the budget for that festival is well below. So, congratulations, NPEA, that brings people to town, spending money, enjoying the community, so that's very good too.
Awesome. Okay,
Could I
We'll go
could I
ahead.
ask one question? Excuse me?
yep,
Sorry, this is Linda again. When Bill was talking about the DB Shanker building and said there were 64 employees that will be hired there, is it possible to know the square footage of that building?
210,000 square feet.
Thank you very much. That's all.
I can give you the employment density per acre if you like.
No, I can figure that out. I know math.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn here, 7:17 PM. Thanks, everyone.
Sweet.